So this is how my bread turned out. It's nice and sealed. So I baked it like normal. And then I didn't like how the bottom part was still lighter. I was almost afraid it wasn't fully cooked at the bottom, even though it should have been, because the top was nice and brown. As you can see in there, the top is nice and brown. So I put it into the pressure canner, and I pressure canned it for another like 20 minutes. And it's now nice and cool. I'm gonna open it and see what it looks like on the inside. All right, let's see if we can open this in a way that won't ruin the seal, so I can reuse it. Yay. This is what the top looks like. I had to, when I took it out of the oven, I had to cut off a piece. So that's why it looks like it's already been chopped into. All right, now I also put a baking paper on the bottom to help keep it sticking from the bottom. And on the sides, I put some olive oil. And it comes right out. So if I put olive oil on the bottom, it probably won't stick, but I just wanted to make sure. All right, here we go. This is what the bread looks like. See that? It is a loaf of bread, but it is just the right size for 1 or 2 people, or for children who don't like to eat that much bread. So let me cut into it. Cuts like a normal piece of bread. The bottom part has kind of like this almost rubbery sense to it, and I think it's because I finished it off with a boil. I'm not sure. So yeah, you'll get these round pieces. So this is a round slice of bread. Imagine having sliced bread that's round, which is okay. I don't mind that. In fact, to me, this, because it's homemade bread, this to me seems like a normal slice of bread and the right size. But there's another way that you can cut it. You don't have to cut it this way. You can cut it this way, lengthwise. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to cut it lengthwise, because sometimes you need a longer piece. Oh, it cuts very nicely. Look at that. You can actually cut. That's also a very nice sized bread. Now I'm going to taste it. It tastes like normal bread. It tastes the exact same as normal bread. Very nice. But I will say what I did. I did not use oil when I made this bread. I used no oil. I used flour, water, yeast. And it's good. But every time I make bread, it's a little bit different anyway. So I normally put in eggs. I normally put in oil. But as a first test, I wanted to see what it was like with this simplest recipe. And it came out really good. In fact, using just using just flour, yeast, and water, I think it came out better this way than if I had baked it as a normal loaf. And now I have these 5 shelf-stable loaves of bread. And they can sit on the shelf, and they'll be there when I want them. And I will generally go through one of these little small loaves, about this size, a week, maybe, if that, because I'm just one person. Now, before you think, but that is just so odd, Yeah, don't you think it's odd that you can buy, you know, hot dog buns or hamburger buns at the grocery store and they will last for a couple of weeks in a bag? Don't you find that odd? That I find odd, with all the preservatives and everything. And here, the only thing I've done is sealed this, vacuum sealed. That's it. It's a vacuum seal. There's no air in there. All the air, the excess air was taken out. This bread is in a vacuum, and that is what is preserving it. Bags of hot dog buns that'll last for 2 weeks on the shelf? No, that is not normal. This is normal. All right, so you might find somewhere online that the USDA does not recommend what we call rebel canning. They would not recommend bread in a jar. They would not recommend cookies in a jar, which is funny because, one moment, you see? One moment. Because they will sell you cookies and shortbreads in a tin like this, which is they just stack the cookies and then just put the lid on, right? So what does this lid do? This lid creates an airtight seal. No air is getting into this tin and no air is getting out of this tin. What's the difference between this and jarred cookies or jarred bread? Nothing, except this doesn't have excess air. This still has the air in it. This had the air vacuumed out of it. So this is actual preservation. This just keeps it from going stale. When the USDA says that they do not approve of a recipe, they are saying, we have not made this in our kitchen, and therefore we cannot verify if it is indeed safe. It doesn't mean that it is dangerous. So if you know of anything about canning, you know that there are temperatures that need to be reached. That's the difference between water bath canning and pressure canning. Pressure canning raises the temperature to a degree that kills off all botulism spores. And you have to make sure that you've got the minimum amount of time in order to reach the interior of that product. So there are two things that you have to consider when you can. Your source ingredients, the acidity, and the pressure and the temperature at canning. As long as these jars reached the 240 degree Fahrenheit temperature, which they did, and they were at this temperature long enough to penetrate the interior of this jar, which they were, then there is no reason why this jar should be harmful. So when the FDA says they don't recommend, I'm going to venture to say that 1, they've never tried it, therefore they cannot endorse it, and 2, they don't recommend it for people who don't know anything about canning. By the way, this had to cook higher than 240 degrees Fahrenheit. This cooked at 350 to 380 degrees Fahrenheit, well above the 240 mark.